Happy Easter and happy Passover. Whether the plagues are heavy upon you, the weight of the tomb be palpable, we are here with you to witness the sorrow and the joy, the new life emerging in the midst of the pandemic. My name is Jermaine Kripe, and I'm a member of your Lifespan Ministry team. We are really glad you decided to join us this morning. Whether this is your first time or your 50th, we want to let you know how excited we are that you're here. I hope that our casual environment will help you feel more comfortable. Please take the time to visit the chat section and introduce yourself and let us know where you're listening from so that we can get to know you better. Lastly, please join us for our virtual social hour after worship services at 10:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. The links to the Zoom meeting will be available at the end of the service. So welcome, young, old, and in between. Welcome to Beacon. Come, let us worship together.
Albert Schweitzer once said, "At times our light goes out and is rekindled by the spark from another person." Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Whether miles apart, within our beacon sanctuary, we yet kindle lights. If this day your light is nearly extinguished, know that it is rekindled by another you have yet to meet. In this way, we are the living sanctuary that no separation nor crisis can diminish.
Good morning, everybody. We are so excited to bring you our first ever virtual Easter egg hunt. I'm here at Beacon, and there are eggs hidden all over the main level of our building. But before we begin, a little reminder as to what Easter is. Easter is a religious observance about the unexpected. Women in the story go to a tomb and find that it is empty. They're very surprised. In the story, we are told they don't even recognize a stranger as their friend. So remember that Easter is all about surprises and about the unexpected. So back to our virtual Easter egg hunt. We bet you're going to find a lot of eggs in the most surprising and unexpected of places. We'd like you to keep count, though, of the number of eggs you find, and then when we're done, put them in the chat box so we can tell you what the correct number is. Here we go, ready for our virtual Easter egg hunt. Your job is to look really carefully to try and spot an egg. And at the end, share the number of eggs you found in the chat box. Ready? Are we ready, Jermaine? Here we go. Maybe there's one over here.
Are there any eggs here? How many? One? That's right. Let's find some more. There are so many here in the lobby. Maybe there are some on the name tag holder. Can you find any eggs by the umbrella stand? And under the sanitizer. Yes, we should sanitize all eggs, Easter or otherwise. Let's head into the sanctuary. Can you see any eggs from here? Let's get a little closer. Do you see any eggs by the piano? What about by the blue boat going home? And over by the play area? Maybe there's some here. Or by the chair storage. Wait, what's this picture? Did we miss this one when we were busy looking for eggs in our current building?
It's our new sanctuary that we're going to build, and there's Easter eggs around it. We'll also have an outdoor play area. When it's built, we can have an Easter egg hunt outside. What a concept!
Well, this is certainly unexpected and a surprise.
Did you count all the eggs in the picture of our new sanctuary? But there's more eggs, right? But where?
Let's head back to our current building and look. There have to be more.
Maybe there are some even in the sunroom? Let's take a look at the sunroom. Anything over here? If I were the Easter Bunny, I would definitely put an egg over there. And maybe over here, I don't know.
What's that over by the Huberman box for the hungry? Is there something on the welcome desk? Ooh, look at this plant. How many eggs did you find? The answer is 28. There were 28 eggs, including the 3 on our new sanctuary building to be found. Did you find them all? Congratulations.
Sometimes when we're busy looking for a particular thing, we miss what's right in front of us. We just fail to notice it. Let's make sure that we notice all the things around us, even if they're not immediately apparent. Easter is all about what is hidden, but which becomes visible and apparent when we pay attention to it. And it is so exciting when we find it. As you go out into the rest of your Sunday, we urge you to notice not only what is obvious and in front of you, but also what might be hidden or lying just behind what you are looking at. Happy Easter, everyone.
In a moment, you're going to hear from David Gordon, who is a member of our Board of Trustees at Beacon. There are 3 ways that you can contribute to the ministry of Beacon Unitarian Universalist. The first is to mail in a check. You can send it over to Beacon Unitarian Universalist, 4 Waldron Ave, Summit, New Jersey, 07901. The second is by using the PayPal link that'll appear in your chat box and on the screen in just a few moments. You can click through and make a donation via PayPal, and you can also make a recurring one. Just look at the link, which is here or maybe here. The third way is text to give, and you'll need your credit card for this one. You can text 978-203-5733, and after the first time you set it up, all you'll have to do is text a dollar amount. So 978-203-5733, text the dollar amount, and then you'll enter some of your credit card information. Every little bit counts, and we thank you so much for helping us ensure that we are able to fulfill the mission of Beacon each and every week, most especially in these times, to nurture the human spirit, to be radically inclusive, and yes, to heal the world.
Good morning. I have a story to share with you. It's a true story, one that happened here at the Unitarian Church in Summit in the late 1930s. But the story begins decades earlier in New York City, and along the way, it passes through Riverside Church. You'll hear more about Riverside later in Reverend Robin's sermon. Sophia Lyon Foz was a pioneer in liberal religious education. Foz earned a master's degree from Teachers College of Columbia University in 1904, and over the next 20 years, she rose to prominence as a religious educator. In 1926, at the age of 50, Foz received her Bachelor of Divinity from Union Theological Seminary, and from 1927 to 1944, she served as an instructor in religious education, one of Union's first female faculty members. The Riverside Church connection came in 1933. Along with her duties at Union, Foz began supervising and teaching Sunday school at Riverside. She developed a progressive, child-centered approach to education, and her reputation grew. Unitarians took notice. The American Unitarian Association hired Foz as their children's editor for the new Beacon series. From 1937 until her retirement in 1951, Foz led a revival in Unitarian religious education that helped usher in a period of significant denominational growth. Around this time, the Unitarian Church in Summit was looking to grow its commitment to children. They wanted Foz to come and help them launch an RE program, which they viewed as essential to their future. But it was the height of the Depression. The budget was extraordinarily tight. Despite belt-tightening everywhere they could, the board realized they had a choice. There was enough money to bring Foz, or to buy the coal they needed to heat the sanctuary, but not both. It was a hard decision, but in the end, they sacrificed comfort for the future of their faith. They brought Foz to Summit. Beacon UU congregation is still benefiting from that brave choice 80 years or 3 generations later. We are recognized leaders in the UUA with our children and youth ministries. And the impact on our kids is just incredible. You see it in small groups, in worship, in retreats. You see it in their spirit, in the choices they make, and in the friends they keep. We're in difficult times once again. So let's see if we can pull together and make some brave choices. Let's support our mission at Beacon when it's needed the most. Let's make a difference for generations to come. Thank you.
We now light candles of joy, of gratitude, and of sorrow. In this week of Passover and Easter, it can feel as if we are literally existing in the narrow places. As a community, we hope that sharing our hardships and pain will help to ease that burden, even just a little bit. We thank nurses, doctors, EMTs, and all healthcare workers. We thank and honor the seen and unseen essential workers who are helping to make it possible for us to live. Even in difficult times, we know that sharing our joys makes them even sweeter. And so we pay mind to unexpected moments of hope and look forward to a time when our heavy hearts turn into joy and dancing. I invite you, wherever you are, to light a candle.
Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia.
O sons and daughters, let us sing the flower of heaven, alive in spring, or death today rose triumphing. Alleluia. O ye who taste that love is sweet, set waymarks for the doubtful feet that stumble on in search of it. Alleluia. Sing hymns of love that some who hear far off in pain may lend an ear. Rise up and wonder and draw near. Alleluia. Lead lives of love that others know. Behold, your lives may kindle too with love and cast their lot with you.
Let us gather for a time of meditation. I invite you to get comfortable in your chair, allowing it to hold and cradle your body. Place your feet on the floor and allow them to root yourself in this place and in this time. Breathe deeply in through your nose, feeling the cool air, and out through your mouth, feeling the warmth as it releases from your body. Soften your gaze, finding one spot to focus on. Or maybe look at the pictures as they emerge on the screen. Or simply close your eyes and empty yourself of all images. I will now ring our gong. Allow the sound to reverberate within you. And as it dissipates into silence, empty yourself again and again, releasing the thoughts that come, releasing the images that come, and allowing silence to hold you just as the chair does, just as your breath does. Allow that silence to hold you and listen. Listen for sounds to emerge. Maybe it is the sound of birds. Maybe it is the sound of your own voice. Or maybe it is the sound of a friend 1,000 miles away singing to you in Hungarian.
Isten lelke, jöjj el hozzánk, áld meg szívünk minden őszinte nagy álmát. Jöjj a széllel a tengerben, vezesd lelkünk az örök igazságban.
A tomb is no place to stay, by Dick Gilbert. A tomb is no place to stay, be it a cave in the Judean hills or the dark cavern of the spirit. A tomb is no place to stay when fresh grass rolls away the stone of winter cold, and valiant flowers burst their way to warmth and light. A tomb is no place to stay when each morning announces our reprieve, and we know we are granted yet another day of living. A tomb is no place to stay when life laughs a welcome to hearts that have been away too long.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
At the beginning of this pandemic, I placed Rachel Naomi Raymond's book, My Grandfather's Blessings, on my bedside table. Each morning, I wake and read a story of refuge, of strength, of belonging, in order to start my day. Early on in her book, Dr. Raymond recounts a story told to her over and over again by her grandfather, a scholar of Jewish mysticism. It's a story about a man called Jacob, who is traveling. He stops for the evening by the bank of a river. He makes his meal and he settles in for the evening, falling asleep. At some point in the night, Jacob wakes with a start and finds himself in the muscular arms of another person, and he's pinned to the ground. The night's so dark that he can't see the stranger's face. Jacob could feel his power, so he summons all of his strength against the aggressor, and so begins a long night of struggling. I wonder, how many of us have woken in the middle of the night over these last few weeks, wrestling with a power that won't let us go? Rachel, young Rachel, asks her grandfather, hoping, "Is it just a nightmare, Grandpa?" She holds his hands, trying to get closer to him because she knows what it's like to have nightmares. "No," he replies, "it was real." Rachel asks, "Well, how long did they struggle? Who won?" "Luckily," her grandfather answers, "the darkness of the night did not last forever. As the light of dawn rose in the sky, Jacob saw his aggressor. It was an angel. And as the light came in, the angel let Jacob go. And the angel tried to get away, but Jacob held fast and said, "I will not let you go until you bless me." That's a funny thing to do, young Rachel thought. I would have let go and been glad it was over. So the angel sees that they cannot escape from Jacob's grasp, and they offer Jacob a blessing by touching the wound that Jacob had suffered in the night. It did not make the wound all better, her grandfather tells her, for Jacob carried that wound the rest of his life. It was Jacob's place of remembering. What you must remember, granddaughter, is that enemies are often angels in disguise if you hold them to the light. Enemies are often angels in disguise if you hold them to the light. And you must remember that our struggles have blessings to behold, should we choose to engage them with courage. Our struggles have blessings to behold, should we choose to engage them with courage. Today, beloved, we are in a great struggle, wrestling with powers that will not let us go. We face not one crisis, but several: a political crisis, an ecological crisis, and now a global health and economic crisis. The word crisis comes from the Greek and means a turning point. We have come to the turning point. Often, the stories we hear about struggle, of crises, center on an individual. In our individualistic society, we live and breathe self-help. If you have a struggle, you can help your way out of it. As human beings, though, we are hardwired neurologically to be connected with other people. That means we are never meant to go it alone, especially in a crisis. The world of self-help is a myth. And that's why I love Passover. It's a story about a people struggle, a community struggle. It's a story about how fear can manipulate a people and how they bumble it and mess up again and again. And the best Seder Haggadahs remind us that in a time of crisis, we have the power in our hands to be vehicles of creation or destruction. Which will we choose? Will we choose to go back to business as usual without learning from the struggle? Or will we choose to bless our struggles? That is the turning point that we face. As climate collapse has hit our planet, every year there are countless communities around the globe that face disasters. They have lessons to teach us. Those are the stories that we need to put into a book like sacred scripture. After a tornado destroyed 95% of a community in Kansas, they didn't just rebuild their city as it was, they completely re-envisioned a city of sustainability and efficiency. Another in Iowa faced significant damage from flooding, and they began to envision a new center for their community where they could come together, something they had never had before. Now you can imagine that in just two of these communities that there were naysayers. How can we invest in sustainability, in community, in the marginalized? Now is not the time for that. But these communities stayed true to their vision of the future. Beacon, a community of Unitarian Universalists, has had a long history of facing turning points together. As you heard today in David Gordon's story, when asked whether we will choose creation or destruction, we chose creation. In 2008, we celebrated our centennial with a plan to raise $100,000 in both dollars and in services to invest in social action projects. Then, it was 2008 after all, the market crashed. And we found members losing jobs, not being able to support themselves the way they always had. It was tough to know how to proceed. Do we put our plans on the back burner, wait for a new day. We talked and talked and talked. We prayed about it. Ultimately, we knew that our goal was more important now than ever. Moreover, we brought people together so that those who had lost their jobs were now coming together, that they weren't facing it alone. They were networking, building skills, finding help in one another through that hard night. Beacon, we know how to face a turning point. When it feels like there is no certain future, our community doubles down on the future we want to see. We choose to build it with our vision. We choose to build it with both our gifts of sacrifice and of offering. We choose to build it with our blessings of love. Yes, we stumble. Yes, we get scared, but we have learned to not go it alone. We turn to one another. 100 years from now, a grandfather will tell his granddaughter a story about how we, a strong and resilient community, wrestled angels through the darkness of this time. When the dawn came, he will tell his granddaughter, we demanded a blessing for our future, not to return to the community that was, but to build the community of our dreams, a community of hope, a community of transformation, a community of justice, a community of love. Beacon, beloved, let us build that community together. Amen.
When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. The Lord told Moses what to do. Let my people go to lead the tribe of Israel through. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. For you the cloud shall clear the way. Let my people go. A fire by night, a shade by day. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go.
On April 9th, 1945, Dietrich Bonhoeffer was killed. He was a German pastor, a theologian, and a strong opponent to the Nazi Party. In a swift trial, he had been found guilty of a plot, an attempt to assassinate Adolf Hitler. While he was imprisoned awaiting trial, he wrote his fiancée several letters, and in the very last of those letters, he wrote these words to her. "Slowly it gets to be a waiting, whose outward sense I cannot comprehend. The inward reason must be found daily." All week long, I kept thinking about that inward reason. Some people would call it purpose. Some might even, in Unitarian Universalist circles, talk about the still small voice. I kept thinking about how critical the inward reason and being in touch with it is in times of crisis. The inward reason to keep on going, to keep living for some right now who rise to put on uniforms and head into the winds of this virus, this pandemic, that inward reason to do so. For others, it is the inward reason to stay home, to take care of themselves, the inward reason to self-isolate all alone. There are times when the false has a way of falling away, almost like a husk. And when it does, it reveals the inner life, the inward reason. These are such times as that, when new worlds that seemed almost impossible to the majority begin to emerge from the ashes, like a phoenix. These are also the times, beloved, though, when fear can make us draw all the more inward, make us want to do anything we can to silence the inward reason, to numb ourselves. And yet, it still emerges. The reason to believe that the liberation dreamed of by our ancestors yet could be in this generation, in this time. Why do pandemics happen? Well, once upon a time, we called it evil, and we would have said that spirits were inhabiting our world from some sin or bad thing done. Then we took to science to understand the measures of how viruses mutate and arise. Some now say that Mother Earth is trying to shake some of us off because of the abuse and destruction that our species has created. I personally have kind of found all of these a little wanting. And so I've started to look at history. What happens in times like this? I've looked at the history of the 1918 to 1919 pandemic, the 1929 stock market crash, the Great Depression, the world wars. I've looked at the smaller recessions and depressions of the late 1800s and even the plague. I am a really fun person to be quarantined with right now. But you know what? In reading all of this immense despair-filled history, you can't help but find something else when you go into the stories during these times. The inward reason begins to rise with clarity, and a collective vision and will sometimes emerges. You find stories of mutual aid where communities shift their entire mission to align with what we would call love of neighbor. You find unions forming and new ways of organizing, of being in community. You find the expectation of what governments should do to be raised. You even find communities that are founded. You find churches and synagogues and temples and mosques that are built. Consider Riverside Church, which began construction in 1927 and was only halfway done when the stock market crashed. The inward reason became all the more clear. Riverside Church, a vision of an interdenominational, progressive Christian community, and they completed their construction in 1930. Riverside Church that has been a cornerstone of justice, where Dr. King in 1967 preached his Beyond Vietnam sermon. Today is the day, beloved, when Christians the world over tell once more the story of a man who fought for what was right, who waged a war of peace and justice, who came from nothing, and who turned the world upside down. Every year I go back to the stories of Jesus, all of the different versions. It's a spiritual practice because I find for my own journey deep inward reasons layered in these stories. And so this year, once more, not just in preparation for a sermon, but as a spiritual practice, I read the resurrection stories again. I read of the women who go to the tomb to dress the body of their beloved Jesus, to perform on him the ancient rituals of burial. And how many times I've read this story and it finally occurred to me, without facing the tomb, the absolute depravity and despair, the destruction of empire that has wrought on this loving and challenging organizer, teacher, and prophet. Without facing that, the tomb, there is no witness to the resurrection. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not some kind of atonement theology where I'm saying that we have to have the suffering in order to have the new life. This is something different. It's about the courage to face the tomb. On Wednesday night, Passover began, and for no particular reason that day, I was feeling filled with despair. The number of people that I knew that have COVID-19 or who are on ventilators or who have a loved one who has just died began to feel immense. I felt hopeless. I couldn't think of any words to say about Passover, let alone in preparation for this day. But then I went on Facebook and I started to see the photos of all the ways in which people were virtually sharing a Seder meal. And I thought of all of the Passovers that have happened in times of destruction and devastation. My son Kirk reminded me on Wednesday night of a ritual we do sometimes of remembering the ancestors by lighting a candle for them. And I had a large basket of candles that I had borrowed from Beacon that were floating candles, and not being able to get them back to the congregation, Kirk asked if we could light some candles and float them in the sink. We began to light candle after candle for ancestors that had gone before, for the names of those we knew who had died recently. And soon the sink was full and we had to move to the tub. And we still had many more names to share when we were down to the last candle. And Kirk saw my face and my worry start to appear, and he said, "Look, the candles are making a reflection in the back of the tub." each light is two lights. Each light can be more than one person. And Dayenu, it was enough. These women went to the tomb fearing the absolute worst, and when they found it empty, they were convinced that their beloved Jesus' body had been stolen. But then something else entirely unfolded. You see, the question is not whether or not there will be a resurrection. The question I would posit is whether or not there will be a witness to see the reflection of light. Do you know the root of the word martyr is witness? It means to bear witness, to bear the truth. And so I wonder this day, on the day where so many the world over are celebrating and honoring the life of a man who fought for justice, I wonder if we can get a witness. A witness that says in this country before COVID-19, nearly 700 people a day died from poverty, from preventable illnesses, from lack of essential needs. A witness that also stands at that tomb long enough to say, Dayenu, we have enough. Our war economy can be repurposed for human life. I wonder if we can get a witness that can bear the truth that in Chicago alone last year, there were 3,000 excessive deaths of Black residents in Chicago. Excessive meaning 3,000 exceeded the white mortality rate. Could we get a witness that says we could decolonize wealth and we could dismantle in this generation racism and systemic poverty? And Dayenu, it would be enough. Can we get a witness that says, while we wait for personal protective equipment and enough testing, that we've spent years stripping healthcare from urban Black communities and poor rural Americans? Again and again, residents of this country, including immigrants, are given the least of care for the body. Can we have a witness to bear the truth that universal health care is not only real but possible, that it can be resurrected and enacted, and Dayenu, it would be enough for all of our bodies to be held as worthy and loved? A witness that says our endless carbon creation has meant the decimation of species and the relocation of entire people and has created a refugee crisis in this world. A refugee crisis, by the way, that means at the borders there are people begging to get in who are getting sick from COVID-19 because they have nowhere to go. Could we get a witness that can bear the truth of that tomb long enough to know that the skies are clearing now and that we could live in a different way where birds herald morning and no one has to flee home and the waters are clean and free and no part of earth will be privatized? Dayenu, it was created enough. A witness, yes, this witness, these witnesses that when they wait long and hard enough, look at that hollowed out, empty tomb and see past their tears that when everything crashes, when everything burns, sanctuaries can emerge as jails crumble and detention facilities fall. A witness that bears the truth that there is no back to before, but there is past something from this entombed living. A body of liberation and movement will rise. A witness that says we can be enough. We are enough. A witness, beloved, that says it's not a matter of whether the resurrection is going to happen. It's not a matter of back to before. A witness that says there is no back, but there is liberation ahead. A witness that says the promised land is not some story. The promised land is the destination of a people who wake up, who rise, who face the tomb, and beyond that tomb, see life, see love, see the greatest teachings of the prophets across all ages, who rise like phoenix, buoyed by the inward reason of the world that can be. And so I ask you this morning, Beacon, I ask you, beloved, I ask you, siblings of one spirit, can I get a witness?
We are here across miles and networks,
widening the circle even now.
We are here in this stunning joy,
and the torn up bits of this world.
Here as a witness,
as a conspirator in liberation.
Here at the tomb.
Here at the dawn, ever singing, joyful, joyful.
Amen.
Dayenu.
It will be enough.
Joyful, joyful, Lord, we adore thee. God of glory, God of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee. Hail thee as the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the pain of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the joy of day. All thy works with joy surround thee. Earth and heaven reflect thy rays. Stars and planets sing around thee. Center of unbroken praise. Field and forest, vale and mountain, blossoming meadow, flashing sea, chanting bird and flowing fountain, call us to rejoice in thee. Thou art giving and forgiving, ever blessing, ever blessed, wellspring of the joy of living, ocean depth of happy rest, ever singing, march we onward, victors in the midst of strife, joyful music